We all know how hard it can be to stay away from spoilers, so I try my best to close down my social media the few days after patch lands. But sometimes I just can't help myself and my endless need to death scroll. And so while scrolling through all the Anaxa and Phynon and My Days posts, I found myself stumbling upon something unexpected. You see, I know nothing about Fate Stay Night. I haven't watched the anime or played the games or read the light novels, so all I know about the subject is what I'm introduced to through Honkai itself. And what they had done up to that point was gift me with this very beautiful man, and that was enough for me. I thought that's where it'd end, since most people on the internet seem to have a bad impression about the event, so I wasn't expecting much out of the story. But that's when I came across these screenshots, these lovely screenshots of Aventurine and my newly acquired furry husbando. Now, I will put out there that I'm very much sold on the Doctor, you're huge part of the fandom, but let me tell you, when I saw these, I thought, wow, did Aventurine get a new boyfriend? And boy, was I correct. Okay, maybe not too correct, since he vanishes into the ether without much of a goodbye. But I must say that if Archer had been able to stay around for a bit longer, I think he could be a real contender for the Aventurine hierarchy of boyfriends. Now, there isn't much of a point to this video except to allow me to gush over this new pairing of mine, but I do think in the grand scheme of things, there's definitely a bit of character depth given to Aventurine through this. Something I wasn't expecting in a small collab event. Although it was supposed to focus more on Saber and Trailblazer, I think that somehow it was Aventurine that really shined in this. Or maybe that's just me and my very gold-coated glasses. This was something I had to raise my eyebrow to. You're gonna put Aventurine in a storyline where someone is a master and the other is a servant, and you get to control them using a mark on their master's body? Not only that, but you're going to hint that you might have made him relive his past? I think I'm about to throw some hands for my boy here. But thankfully, Aventurine has buried his trauma under a facade of playful nonchalance, though he makes sure to remind Archer not to call him Master, instead preferring for him to use Mr. Aventurine instead, a small but significant detail that stresses his rejection of that power dynamic. Archer, on the other hand, is less subservient and more sarcastic, calling his master flamboyant and not pulling his punches when teasing the other. I don't know if he's actually like this, but my chat says he is, and I'll believe them because it seems like it. I'm not sure if they're summoned with any general knowledge of their masters, as they are with the world they are summoned into, but I do know that there seems to be some kind of dreams that might be exchanged. Or maybe they were able to talk a bit outside of the event, as Archer seems to understand Aventurine's personality quite well and plays off his flamboyant master's whims accordingly. Although it's not added to the actual story, a dialogue does exist outside of the game that shows the two did have a bit of interaction where they talked about their pasts as orphans. I found it especially funny that Archer talks about literally beating himself up, which I have been made aware does in fact happen in the source material. But even though Aventurine is an open book, he has a tendency to manipulate the way that others perceive him in order to control the narrative. And so it's very interesting that Archer can see past all of that to the soul of his master and help Aventurine achieve his goals. Even if Aventurine doesn't quite want to play the part of master, it seems that Archer is a very good servant. We, as the player, is quite aware that Aventurine may not be the most honorable of characters. He was, after all, one of the baddies in the beginning of the Penacony story, and and works for the IPC. But he's shown us that he can work well with others and takes his losses with grace. Well, are they really losses though, since he wins even when he loses? But I think that this event pushes him away from that more villainesque light and allows us to see a world where he fights for justice instead, not only for him, but for Archer as well, where the word hero really means something. I think this might have just been me, but I feel like I struggled a bit with the term counter-guardian as they somewhat glossed over it when explaining, but my chat explains to me that those who carry this title are technically heroic, but they have a lot of things that make them seem unheroic and may make the person who has this title feel a little bit disillusioned and maybe anything but heroic. This disillusionment is particularly evident in Archer. For all of his power and his heroic deeds, he constantly struggles with his role and all that he has witnessed and experienced. In this event, both characters, in their unique way, was able to step into a heroic light. For Archer, this event allows him to be more than just a guardian of humanity, but a hero, explicitly recognized and echoed by those around him. On the other hand, Archer delivers a line that serves as an acknowledgement of Aventurine's true character. This isn't just a throwaway line, but shows that he sees past Aventurine's act to who he really is, a person who sometimes just wants to do good. Archer even says that he's glad that they work together. For me, it was this interaction that made me ship them. Archer's words felt like a genuine compliment, a recognition of the gambler's worth, which to me is a lot, but to others maybe not so much, and especially to Aventurine, who probably thinks of himself as someone who is disposable. While Aventurine might have dismissed Archer's words as just another attempt to psychoanalyze his personality, I believe it was a profound moment of validation, highlighting the layers of Aventurine's character and adding unexpected depth to what was just a collab event. The chemistry between Aventurine and Archer might be deniable for others, but it is undeniable for myself, even with the limited screen time they get together. I'm pretty sure when I'm done editing this video, it'll be longer than the actual interactions they've had on screen. But that's how much I ship them. There's just something in the way that they interact with Archer's sarcasm and Aventurine's flamboyance that creates a perfect dynamic for me. And visually speaking, they make quite the pair standing side by side. I don't know if this is true or not, since the people I talk to about Fate's Stay Night are probably just fueling my need to ship, but I heard that Archer is usually quite snarky to his masters at first before softening on them later on, testing their resolve before letting up a little to show them a much more softer side of the man beneath. I asked because of Archer's roasts on Aventurine, especially his focus on his fashion sense. Someone said something about a Gilgamesh character, but I think I have my hands full with just Archer research, so I didn't look into it further. Aventurine, for his part, didn't seem to think much on it, though he felt that Archer's attire was just as questionable. At one point, Aventurine and Trailblazer was trapped in a room where they couldn't leave unless they cut something off. Archer immediately decided that it was his master who needed to do the sacrificing of limbs. Aventurine's amused reaction to this teasing only made the shippers out there ship them even more, as such interactions tend to make for interesting relationships. On a personal note, while the context for this escape room trope seemed to be referencing movies like Saw, which I've never actually seen, my familiarity with this specific plot device comes from various manga and doujinshi. So from what I remember of this trope in those contexts, it was never about sawing off a leg or a limb, but something much more intimate. This made me laugh a little bit more, even though the pairing at the moment wasn't Aventurine and Archer, but Aventurine and Trailblazer. Another part that made me feel like they were a matching pair was the scene where Aventurine is tearing down their opponent using his words, and Archer seamlessly backs him up. This teamwork and synchronization was unexpected at first, but then continues on with another scene where Grady attempts to manipulate Aventurine into betrayal. It's clear that he's genuinely upset by Grady's assumption that he could be so easily swayed. Yet, ever the opportunist, Aventurine quickly recognizes that he can get the upper hand here, and Archer, with his perceptiveness of Aventurine's motivations, immediately catches on to Aventurine's true intent. He offers a brief, almost performative token resistance before seamlessly falling in line with his master's spontaneously formed plan. This moment, to me, showcases their ability to communicate without words, and a trust like that doesn't happen easily, even between friends. They aren't just master and servant. They've somehow formed a partnership where both characters challenge and complement each other, their relationship ideal for fan interpretations and, of course, to make a new ship out of. And that is where I'm going to end it. I know that this is a very random video, but it's of a pairing I won't have to worry about new content coming out for and changing everything I'm writing about on a whim. I am totally looking at you, Final and Anaxa, seriously stop. But if you liked this pairing, feel free to share with me why in the comments down below. And hopefully I'll see you in another video. We'll see.